Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josette, the home buyer mentor, turning renters into homeowners. I'm so glad that you are here. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I would be happy to answer those for you. The first one I want you to look out for is homes with old electrical wiring. Houses that have older electrical wiring like knob and tube wiring, aluminum wiring, or outdated fuse boxes can really cause electrical fires. You're talking about overloading your circuits, frequent power failures, and electrical systems from the 1900s weren't built for modern appliances. You know, we're going green, everything is updated, everything is new. So if your home has knob and tube wiring or aluminum wiring or an outdated fuse box, then you might be at a higher risk for, or your home might be at a higher risk for electrical fires, your system being overloaded, frequent power outages, and the insurance costs might be higher. Not only that, some insurance companies won't even touch your house if they have older wiring. So you want to stay clear away from that, especially if you don't have the funds to update all the electrical wiring in the house. It would be easier to just buy a house that has up-to-date wiring, so that when you plug in your fridge or you plug in your hair dryer, it doesn't blow a fuse. You know what I'm saying? Here are some signs that a house might have had old wiring: is that you might have flickering or dimming lights, buzzing or burning smells near the outlets. You know, you see houses with two prongs, ungrounded outlets. There's no third hole. There's just the 1, 2, no third hole. You know, that's why they say it's not GFCI. And the breakers that you have to like constantly trip the breakers for it to work. If you see those things, it's probably a chance that the house itself has older wiring. Many home insurance companies won't cover a house with old knob and tube or aluminum wiring. That means you're gonna have higher premiums or no coverage at all. If the house is old, most likely the wiring is old. If they haven't done any upgrades, if they haven't done any updates, most likely the plumbing might be old, the electrical might be old, and these can create some issues for a first-time home buyer. You don't want your house to be a money pit. You don't want it to be something that you're constantly just throwing money into because everything is breaking down. When you are choosing your house, make sure you choose correctly. Older homes, they may have charm, but they are outdated and they might have some serious wiring issues, and that can be a safety risk for yourself. You want to make sure safety first. If you're buying a house with old electrical wiring, that you're getting a professional electrician to inspect the wiring before you purchase the home and make sure that you are addressing any issues that may come up before you close on that house. You can negotiate with the seller, or you can budget for whatever the rewiring is going to cost, but at least you will know what you're getting into before you close on that house. Number 2, houses with lead-based paint. There's houses that were built before 1978. There's a good chance that they might have had lead-based paint, and that's a big problem. So why is lead-based paint a big problem? Lead-based paint was banned in 1978 because it's toxic, especially to kids and pregnant women. Exposure to lead-based paint can cause brain damage, developmental issues, and even serious health issues in adults. The problem isn't just the paint, it's the dust and the chips that come from the paint. So every time it cracks or it peels or it is disturbed, the lead particles spread throughout the air and onto surfaces that you touch. You're looking for a house that is built before 1978 and it has lead-based paint. You want to make sure that you're getting a lead inspection before you buy. If lead-based paint is found, it is very costly to remove. Remember, because the sanding and the scraping or remodeling can release dangerous dust particles like lead dust particles into the atmosphere, into the air. And if you inhale that or if you touch that, it can get into your skin and cause some serious health issues. It is not impossible to buy these houses. Not saying that you can never buy these types of houses, but just know that if you're buying a house with lead-based paint, you're going to have an issue on your hand, and taking care of that issue is not cheap. So you want to make sure that you're thinking twice before you buy a house that has lead-based paint. You want to make sure that you are doing your necessary research. You want to make sure if it is found that the house, because sometimes the sellers will give you what's called a lead-based paint disclosure. And I don't think I've ever seen in my 14 years of doing real estate, I don't think I've ever seen a lead-based paint disclosure where the seller actually says is lead-based paint, because nobody really actually even do an inspection like a home seller before they put their home on the market for lead-based paint in particular. So the lead-based paint disclosure, if the house is built before 1978, is always going to say they don't know. And they're correct, they don't know. That is why it is up to you as the home buyer to do your research, to do your homework, to do your due diligence before you buy the house. The lead-based paint disclosure is required, but the lead-based paint disclosure doesn't tell you squat. It just tells you that they don't know. And if you want to find out if there's lead-based paint, that you have to do your own due diligence. Again, it is expensive to take care of that issue if there actually is lead-based paint. So that's why I just recommend that you probably, as a first-time home buyer, you probably just stay clear away from homes that has lead-based paint. Make sure that the house is tested for lead-based paint, and if it is present, you want to consult a professional to remediate that problem. Number 3, buying a house with active termites. Termites are called silent destroyers. They eat through the house or eat through the wood 24/7. By the time you actually see visible damage of termite, it's probably too late. They've eaten through everything already. So what happens when termites eat through the wood in the house? It weakens the foundation and the support beams of the house. They damage walls, they damage floors, they damage ceilings, they lower the property value, and they can cost you thousands of dollars in repairs. So I would think twice about buying a house that has active termites. Now, here are some of the things that you should look for when you are house hunting. You will find there'll be hollow sounding wood when you tap on the wood. I mean, nobody goes in the house tapping on people's wood, right? Nobody's doing that. There'll be mud tubes along the walls of foundations. Sometimes, every now and then, you can literally see them. There might be termite droppings. That's one of the clear signs that the house have termites. You usually see termite droppings, or you might see warped doors and windows that don't close right because the termites have probably just eaten through the wood. Termite treatment is not cheap. It's not cheap, just like all the other things that we're talking about. If you're buying a house for the first time, you don't want to have to be putting money, getting termite treatments or rewiring the house, unless this is what you want to do, unless you want to buy a fixer-upper and all of these things exist and this is just your jam. You want to do that, then go for it. But as a first-time home buyer, you don't want to be tricked into buying something, especially if you see termite droppings. Make sure you get a termite inspection so you know if the termite is alive or if they were old, if it's already been treated and that's just the residue, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes the property is already treated and the damage is not so bad. But if you get into something that has live termites, it can cost you a pretty penny depending on the extent of the damage. If you have to do repairs, if you have to take wood out and put new wood and do all of that, more extensive the damage, the more costly the repairs. So think about that when you are house hunting, when you're looking and you see the homes that, well, it needs a little bit of work, it needs a little bit of TLC, a little bit of work and a little bit of TLC is nothing to fear. But if you're getting deeper into this thing than you want to, you should probably stop and think about it. Do not buy a home with active termites unless you have it professionally treated and you have a licensed inspector confirm that it has been treated and confirm that there are no structural damage to the house. Sometimes the issue is minor, but sometimes the issue is major. And when it's a major issue, you ask yourself, which is better, to keep house hunting or to buy a house that you're going to spend months trying to get rid of termites? You know what I'm saying? A termite infestation can be an ongoing issue. It might treat it, but then sometimes it might come back. And I'm just saying, if you had it before, the probability of having it again is high. Or a house near a train track. Man, noise. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of a house being near a train track. But it's not like you can just lift up your house and move, right? So, and they're not gonna move the train tracks. So in order to avoid this, just not buy a house that is near a train track. Not only that, one of the biggest things apart from the noise is the property value. Again, there are not many people out there that want to buy a house near a train track. So if you buy a house near a train track and you're feeling, well, I'm going to buy this house, it's my first house, and I'm going to live in it for a couple of years, and after that I'm going to sell it, you might have a hard time reselling that house because there's not a high market for people out there looking for houses specifically near a train track. I have not seen that in any one of my criteria when buyers are telling me what they're looking for. It's never on the list. I want a house that is near a train track. Homes that are near train tracks typically sell for less. Okay, the appreciation is slow. The other things that happens with homes that are near train tracks is that not only are the trains noisy, the trains gives out vibration, like they shake, and so that can cause structural damage to homes that are near train tracks. The vibration over time, the constant movements can lead to cracked walls, shifting foundations, and structural damage. Again, that can put a dent in your pocketbook and again make it even more difficult to resell that house. Also, safety hazard. If you live near a train track, you're going to expect frequent delays at crossings. So if there's an emergency, the fire responders might be stuck behind the train because it can get to you. When trains are crossing, everybody has to stop, right? So that could be a safety hazard, especially if you have health issues. You definitely don't want to live near a train track. Air pollution. Diesel trains release harmful emissions, and if your home is too close, you might be breathing in unhealthy air every day. I don't think your lungs would like that. All right. If you're thinking about buying a home near a train track, even though it seems like a bargain, there might be hidden downsides to that. Forget about your peace and quiet. Your property value might go down, and it might even be a safety issue. The other type of house that I think you should avoid, houses with sinkholes or houses with remediated sinkholes. If it had one sinkhole, even if you fix it, even if it's been remediated, even if you have an engineer report, What is to say it will not have another sinkhole? And so for peace of mind, that would just be my main thing. Just for peace of mind, I would stay away from a house with a sinkhole. And it's going to have foundational issues. You will see the cracks on the wall, and you will see sometimes the house, the foundation is not stable. Sometimes all of those things are visible. And especially if it's not fixed properly, it can be an ongoing problem. If you're buying a house in a sinkhole, with a sinkhole, or that had a sinkhole, you want to make sure that you're doing your research, you're doing your homework, and you want to make sure that this is the house that you want, and that you're aware of all the possible side effects. Because number one, fixing the sinkhole can be costly, and getting insurance on the sinkhole can be extremely difficult and or extremely expensive. So make sure that you're hiring a structural engineer to evaluate any sinkholes, and ensure that the repairs have been certified by a licensed professional. You don't want to just be, I fix a sinkhole and just throw some dirt and some cement in there and think like that's it. Houses in flood zones. I am so glad right now in Florida, when you put a house on the market in the MLS, you have to attach a flood disclosure. I am so glad that that is now part of the disclosures in the MLS when you are putting your house on the market, because now everybody have to disclose whether or not they've had a flood. So why I think you shouldn't buy a house that is in a flood zone is the risk of flooding, the risk of, probably evacuating every time something happens. Again, you're gonna be required to carry flood insurance apart from your home insurance, because home insurance and flood insurance are two different kinds of insurance. So that is going to be more expense on you. And number three, on top of that, carrying the flood insurance, your home insurance is going to be a little bit more because you are in a flood zone. So you want to make sure that you are checking your FEMA flood maps so that you know where your property stands when it comes to identifying properties in a flood zone. The damage that flooding can cost is very, very high. It can be tremendous on your pocketbook. Insurance can be an issue. It can be very hard to get insurance, especially now in Florida, where it's hard to get insurance anyways. Adding flood on top of that can be even more difficult for you. So make sure you are consulting with an insurance professional to understand your risk and your cost when you're buying a house in a flood zone. Also, when you have a house in a flood zone, it becomes a little bit more difficult as well to sell that house. So your resale value might go down. These are just some of the homes that I would not buy if I were you. Some of the homes that I think that as a first-time home buyer, you want to make sure that you're checking into before you start writing offers. You want to make sure that you're checking the areas out before you just like, oh, I want to see this house, I want to see that house, because sometimes it's more than just having a nice house in a nice community. So make sure that when you're buying your houses, you are doing the necessary inspection. Guys, you have made it all the way through to the end of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am a licensed real estate agent in Tampa, Florida. So if you're looking to make the move, feel free to use my information. It is somewhere on the screen or in the description below. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so that you can know every time I upload a new video. And I will see you on the next video. Bye.